Hello, and thank you for your interest in submitting a Governor's Awards for the Arts nomination. I'm Katie Monahan, and I'm a communications strategist here at the Ohio Arts Council, and I also help coordinate the Governor's Awards nomination process. If you're watching this video, you likely have a worthy nominee in mind, and we want to help you share their story with the awards committee in the most effective way. So I am here to go over some best practices and tips to help you assemble a competitive Governor's Awards nomination. So let's get started. So once you've identified your nominee and the award category that best suits them, it's time to begin assembling your nomination package. As the nominator, you're going to be responsible for coordinating the nomination. Nominations can be submitted by individuals or by organizations, and the nomination consists of three key components. So first, there's some biographical information that we request about the nominee. So a basic short bio, a headshot, some basic contact information. So name, email, address, phone number, that kind of thing. There's also the option to add links to the nominees' social media profiles, their website, or for our individual artist nominees, a link to their online portfolio. Next, we have our nomination narrative. This is kind of the heart of your nomination package, and we're going to dive into that one here in just a little bit. And finally, you can include up to 3 one-page letters of support from community members who can speak to the impact that the nominee has created through the arts. So as the nominator, you're going to collect this information and then upload it via the online nomination form that's available on the OAC's website. And we will also talk a little bit more about that form here toward the end of the video as well. But first, let's talk about that nomination narrative. So the nomination narrative is the foundation of your nomination package. It's what introduces your nominee's accomplishments and contributions to the awards committee. This is the first thing that awards committee is going to see. So this is where you really want to make a splash. The nomination should be between 350 to 800 words. That's about a page typed. And we realize that facing a blank page can sometimes be pretty daunting. So we've put together a few prompts to help get you started when thinking about composing your nomination narrative. So first, you want to think about, how does your nominee contribute to, uplift, or influence the arts in their community? So are they a connector? Do they foster collaboration? Maybe they've forged partnerships between some local businesses and arts organizations that resulted in economic revitalization for your local town or city. Have they increased awareness about a certain art form in your community? Or have they increased philanthropic efforts across the board? Those are some things you want to consider. Something else you may want to think about is who benefits from the nominee's leadership in the arts. So is your nominee working specifically with rural, urban, or suburban communities? Are they perhaps going into correctional facilities and leading arts programming activities with justice-involved individuals? Are they offering opportunities to underserved youth or students, or engaging older adults through some creative aging programming? Those are just some of the audiences and the folks that could potentially be impacted that you would want to touch upon in your nomination narrative. And finally, one other way to think about this or to approach it is to think about how you would tell the nominee's story in an interview with a documentary crew. So the who, what, where, when, why, how. Has this nominee been successful in using the arts to transform or strengthen their community? I think the key thing to remember here is that you are telling a story. This isn't just a bulleted list of accomplishments like you would find in a resume. This is really getting in there and sharing the story of your nominee. A few additional tips to keep in mind when you are composing your nomination narrative. So first, we do recommend that you type out your narrative in some sort of word processing program outside of the nomination form, and then copy and paste your text into the form. There's less room for spelling and grammatical errors that way. It's way easier to share it with others for editing that way. And of course, you don't risk losing your narrative if for some reason there's a glitch when you upload it to the form, when you start typing it into the form. So type it outside, copy and paste, put it in the form that way. It's just better safe than sorry. Next, the other big piece of advice that I can give you is to proofread for both copy edits and for content edits. So you want to give yourself plenty of time, and you want to, I recommend sharing both the category description and your nomination narrative with some trusted proofreaders, ideally a mix of people who know and who don't know the nominee. You want to make sure that you're not leaving any major questions unanswered or any holes in your story. Like I said, this is very likely the first time that the awards committee may be hearing of your nominee, of this individual or organization. So you really want to make sure that they fully understand who this person or organization is and what they're about. You definitely want to enlist somebody who is good at editing, who can help you cut out the weakest points in your narrative. 350 to 800 words it's pretty tight, so you really want to make those words count. And one other tip that we have gotten actually from some of our past successful nominators is to actually work with the individual or organization that you're nominating themselves and share the narrative with them, and make sure that the narrative encompasses all aspects of their work. So that's an interesting route to take as well. All right, so those are some things to consider when drafting that nomination narrative. Let's go ahead and move on to those support letters. So our support letters are optional, but they are highly encouraged. Well-rounded nominations do typically include a diverse set of up to 3 one-page support letters that highlight the nominee's strengths and are not repetitive of the narrative. That's super key, so keep that in mind. As a nominator, it may be really helpful for you to share your vision or some themes that you want to hit in the nomination with your letter writers so that they can draft their letters accordingly and ensure that they aren't being repetitive of what you write in the narrative. So how do you know who to approach here? You want to think about folks who can help bolster the story from a variety of viewpoints. So you're seeking letters from well-respected people who have worked with your nominee, be it an individual or an organization in various capacities. These people could be colleagues of your nominee. They could be community members who have been impacted, local elected officials, board members, educators, just anyone who can offer insight on the nominee's impact. Other things that you want to note when thinking about your support letters. So support letters have to be submitted in writing. You'll upload them as PDF files. We do not accept video support letters or hyperlinks or any other links to other materials. As I mentioned earlier, there are places in the form where you can upload links to your nominee's social media profile, their websites, or again, their online portfolios. But these support letters really do need to be submitted in written form and uploaded to the nomination form as one-page PDFs. And be sure you get started early. We like to recommend that you give your support letter writers a deadline of at least a couple of days to a week in advance of the actual nomination deadline. So that way you have time to compile everything, review the complete package as a whole, and ensure that it tells the story that you're hoping to tell. And of course, that ensures that you're not scrambling on deadline day. So I think that does it for our support letters. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about this nomination form. So as I mentioned, once you've compiled all of your materials, you're going to complete the nomination form. The form is available on the OAC's website through the entirety of the nomination period at oac.ohio.gov/governors-awards. This form is really fairly straightforward. I took some screenshots here that you can look at to kind of get a glimpse into the form. You're going to enter the basic biographical information, the contact information that we talked about earlier. You're going to note which category you're nominating your individual or organization in. And then you'll copy and paste your nomination narrative into the text box here. Remember, we're writing it in a word processing program and then bringing it into the form. You'll upload your support letter PDFs via the file uploader here. And then once you've done all that, you're going to have the opportunity to review your nomination package in whole before you hit submit. And then once you hit submit, you'll receive a confirmation message that we have received your nomination. If you don't get that confirmation message, please contact me. We want to be sure that we received it. So if you get any kind of weird thing happening there, definitely reach out to me and we'll make sure that that gets taken care of. It's also really important to note that the form can only be completed in one visit, so you cannot save and return to it later. It's a pretty quick, pretty basic form, so it shouldn't take you that long, but just keep that in mind. We do recommend that you collect all of your materials and save them in a dedicated folder on your computer, all in the same place, so that when you are ready to complete the form, it's very easy to navigate to them, upload everything at once, and you'll be good to go. I think the most important piece of advice that I can give you about the form, and I cannot stress this enough, is please, please, please do not wait until the last minute to complete the form. Tech issues are real. And the last thing that anybody needs on deadline day is some sort of tech glitch at 5 p.m., right? Now, that's not to say we will absolutely be available on deadline day and of course before via email or phone to help you troubleshoot or answer any last minute questions that you might have. But, save yourself the stress, get it in early and just feel good about it. All right, I think that does it for the form. So next we're going to talk a little bit about some frequently asked questions that we get about who can nominate and what types of nominations are accepted. So first up, let's talk a little bit about eligibility here. Our nominations are open to organizations or individuals who work or reside in Ohio. Our nominees must be living, so we do not award awards posthumously. And finally, and really importantly, this is a super highly competitive process. And because of that, nominations of previously unselected nominees are definitely encouraged. We are super fortunate to have immense talent and incredible arts leaders in this state. So like I said, competition is fierce. So if you submitted a nomination 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 4 years ago, and it wasn't successful, please don't be discouraged. We've had several past nominators who didn't necessarily have success on the first or even the second attempt, but then they did get it on the subsequent attempts. So, the awards committee changes every time. You never know what's going to speak to someone. You'll want to, if you do decide to re-up your nomination, you're going to want to take a look at it, tweak or update your nomination narrative to reflect any additional accomplishments or increased impact over the course of the past couple of years. And again, make sure you have someone from the outside look it over and offer suggestions. They may see something that you didn't and identify areas where you could be stronger. And also be sure to not just update the nomination narrative, but go back to those support letter writers and ask them if they wouldn't mind updating your support letters as well. It'll just make for a better overall package. Next up, we've got self-nominations. We get a ton of questions about self-nominations, and self-nominations are permitted. That said, for individuals, if you're an individual looking to self-nominate, I would really recommend that you find someone in your community to actually serve as your nominator, and then work closely with them to have them write that nomination for you. Sometimes we don't know how to talk about ourselves in the most effective way. And so going with an outside party just really makes for a stronger nomination when it comes to individuals. Now for organizations, it's a little bit different. We have definitely seen success in self-nominations from organizations. If you opt to go that route, we just recommend that the nomination comes from a member of the organization's leadership. So whether that's either the executive director or a board chair, board member, someone like that. And then if you do that, be sure to bolster that narrative with those support letters from folks who are outside the organization who can truly speak to the organization's impact within the community. Okay, well, that does it. Those are some of the best tips and best practices for assembling a competitive Governor's Awards nomination. I hope this video was helpful and you feel confident and well-equipped to submit your nomination. As always, if you have questions, I'm here to help. The whole OAC staff is here to help. Feel free to reach out to me directly at katie.monahan@oac.ohio.gov. I'll be around and be happy to help you out. Until then, thank you so much for tuning in, and we look forward to receiving your nomination. Thank you.